green. Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. Ready? This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go.
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! And a good football morning, Birds fans. I assure you that our couple-minute late start here has nothing to do with us trying to mimic the Eagles in the way they've started the last couple of games. We just had to work through some technical difficulties, but we are here with you for the next almost 2 hours to talk about another heart-wrenching, heart-stopping, angst-causing, exhilarating Philadelphia Eagles victory yesterday over the Buffalo Bills. Johnny Mac, before we talk about the game, break it down. You got to break down the press box for it. What's it like sitting there with a bunch of guys covering the Eagles and Bills guys that are there too, and the game being the peak and valley game that it was? What was it like in a press box?
It's always, from our perspective, it's always a pain in the you-know-what, because you're writing as the game goes along, and then it changes 57 times, and, it's always an issue from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, when Jake Elliott lines up for the 59-yard field goal in that kind of weather, as good as Jake has been, you're like, this is not going to go well. And then he bangs it through, and it's, this team is something else as far as persevering and all that kind of stuff. But I got to tell you, Jody, they are living on the edge. At some point, it's going to bite them in the you-know-what. And Jalen Hurts, and by the way, I didn't live up to the standard. These technical difficulties, they were my fault. So I will take responsibility just as Jalen Hurts did. Jalen seemed almost tortured after the game. He was like, we keep winning, but I'm not living up to the standard. I'm like, wow, this team is something else. The fact that the numbers are insane, Jody. Insane. 10-1 for 2 consecutive seasons. 2 coaches in history have done that. 2. Tony Dungy, Don Shula, both in the Hall of Fame, obviously. Tony Dungy had Peyton Manning. We know those great Dolphins teams. 2. 26-2 Jalen Hurts, 15-1 at Lincoln Financial Field, 14 straight against winning teams. Best since 1950. 1950. They keep winning games in a league defined by parity. And some of them, like this one, are on that razor's edge, on that tightrope, and can go either way. And if Jake Elliott misses that field goal, nobody blinks in that kind of weather.
Nope.
That's how close it is. And they just find ways to persevere and win these games. It's I don't even, at this stage, I can't even explain it. But you can see it even weighing on the quarterback. It's like, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this. And that's the standard they have. And, it was an awful first half. The fans are booing. The expectations are so high with this team. That's another part of it from my perspective. when they have a bad quarter, a bad drive, it's like, what's going on? What's going on? Everybody has bad quarters in this league. Everybody has bad drives. Everybody has bad halves. But, midway through the first half, Jalen Hurts was 2 for 9. He had the blue Tarski, I like to call it, for Animal House fans. It's an old movie, so a lot of people won't get the reference. Passer rating 0.0. When you have that kind of start, typically quarterbacks, doesn't have to be any player. They're probably not going to have a good game. You fast forward to the second half. I think he started 6 out of 7. His passer rating at that point in the second half was 158.3. I've never seen anything like it. This guy shrugs off everything. And the relentlessness, I always say, that's the word I use, that you can't let your guard down if you're the opposition, or he's going to make a play. And it doesn't matter how poorly he's played up to that point. I don't know. Can you come up with a comparison? I can't. Usually you got it or you don't.
Right. For him to be able
like the worst of the worst, and then he's the best of the best.
Like turning on and off a faucet. And when he turns it on, it comes pouring down on you. And it did yesterday on the Buffalo Bills. Yesterday, yours truly was on WIP in the morning prior to the Eagle game, which, of course, was on WIP. And usually I'm on with Glenn. But because he was doing a pregame show, they were going to ask him to do 6 and change straight hours. So it was me and Al Morgani. And during the show, I suggested, Al planted the seed in my mind as a potential idea, but then Al backed off. He wanted no part of it. I suggested that during the game yesterday, when Jalen Hurts makes a massive play, be it a great touchdown pass, be it a phenomenal touchdown run, and or a tush push into the end zone, of which he made all 3. He did every single one of them yesterday. 5 touchdowns for Jalen Hurts. The Zacchaeus play was, for me, the most exciting. Running left, 3rd and long, going the wrong way, perfect touch pass into double cover, just phenomenal. So I suggested the Eagle fans should start the MVP chant during the game. That you don't usually get it in an NFL game. You get it in an NBA game because there's that natural break, go to the foul line. You can feel it, you can hear it. Baseball, guys coming up to bat, they're playing his walk-up music, perfect fitting and timing for it. There really isn't as perfect a fitting or timing in an NFL game. But there is after a massive play. Well, somebody's going to be upset because they're chanting MVP when Jake's trotting out to kick a PAT? I don't think so. You can make it just as easy and just as fitting in football. And I said Jalen Hurts deserves this. He's moved into the MVP status. He is the leader in the clubhouse. I told you to go by Mahomes if they won the game. He did. After the game he had yesterday, he is now not only the leader, he's leader by margin because he put up 5 touchdowns yesterday. Johnny Mac, do you think I got tweets at halftime when I'm MVP my ass? Was one of the tweets I got because Jalen had the first half that he did.
I'm amazing, the turn. I mean, I got so many Buyer Brian Johnson tweets. I can't even tell you. I don't. Look, some of it is self-inflicted in the fact that they're so good. The expectations, as I said, rise to this unrealistic degree. But yeah, I'm a little surprised. I don't know if I should be, but I'm always a little surprised when people turn that quickly. I talked about it with Doug Peterson. I thought, I remember sitting in a bar in Minneapolis after the Super Bowl saying, all right, Doug's never going to have to buy a drink in Philadelphia again. He's got a lifetime dispensation card. Well, lifetime lasted three. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised by it, but I'm always surprised by it. And then sure enough, I mean, that's part of fandom. There's a hypocrisy built into it. The same people are so happy at the end of the game. It's just living and dying with a particular team. And when you're dying, it's ugly. And they played a bad first half. They played as poorly as they played in the first half. But yeah, I mean, people got to have a little bit more patience, I would think, but evidently not. Yeah, he's the and by the way, Seth on the postgame show asked me the disrespect for Jalen Hurts. I'm like, he's the leader for the MVP. He's going to win the MVP if they finish this thing. If they go 16-1, he's the MVP. Period. End of sentence. Now, they might not even play the final 2 games or whatever if they keep it going. But if they keep it going, he's going to be the MVP. So I don't know about the disrespect card.
Yeah,
as you
sometimes
mentioned.
I wonder if the disrespect is coming from right here in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
from Eagle fans. It's,
Yeah, exactly.
You always point the finger at the national media.
Yeah,
national media,
they're the ones that are telling you he's going to be the MVP.
How about the home guys here who are going
Yeah.
MVP my ass on my Twitter when I said they should start an MVP chant for Jalen? Now, this was before the game. This was before he had 5 touchdowns yesterday. And again, here's the only thing that I'll kind of concur with Seth on. And this is a national media thing. I think in general, they don't acknowledge or credit or look at rushing touchdowns. That they solely look at the touchdown pass column and go, oh, you don't have as many touchdown passes as this guy, that guy, the other guy. And they look right past the rushing touchdowns, which guess what? You get the same 6 points for. It doesn't matter if you throw it 99 yards or if you run it in from 9 inches and it's a tush push. It's the same 6 points, and you should get the same kind of credit for it. That's the one thing. That's why I don't think, and the betting markets know what they're doing. There's a reason why they do it. There's complete unbiased. All they're looking to do is make a profit. So they're going to be the most unbiased judge of who's having the best season and who should be a leading MVP candidate because they're just trying to make money. They get it. Those with opinions, those with human biases don't give credit for rushing touchdowns. And oh, by the way, Jalen had 2 more again yesterday. So he is the unquestioned MVP as of right now.
Yeah. If the season ended today, he'd be the MVP. So, I mean, that's, he's a significant favorite. So, I hear what you're saying. Individuals. Yeah. A lot of individuals don't look at, he went through the same thing last year. Well, he doesn't have a lot of touchdown passes. Yeah. Who cares? How many touchdowns does he generate?
Correct.
Yeah, and he's the first quarterback in history with 10 touchdowns for 3 consecutive seasons on the ground. Never been done before. How about that? We talk about that. There's so many statistics I can throw out there, numbers, that have never been done before. Or in the case of 14 straight against winning teams, hasn't been done in 73 years. 73 years. I don't, I truly believe most people do not understand what they are watching. And bottom line, I said it yesterday on the post-game show. I'll say it again today. Don't get used to this. It is not going to be like this forever. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. I get the disappointment if they don't win like they didn't win last year. I get that. But this is rare. This is incredibly rare. And longtime Eagles fans will tell you that. Never happened before, this kind of run. This team's been around since 1933. Well, you can go back to 1940. I shouldn't say that. 1949 and 50 if you want to go back then. But in the modern era, this has never been done before in Eagles history.
We have 6 more regular season games to go. They're halfway through the quote-unquote gauntlet, which, I termed it a gauntlet. I wasn't by myself, but the 6-game run in the middle of the season, oh, my God, that schedule gets hard. Easier early, very easy late. That 6-game run in the middle is going to be very.
Can I give you some disrespect, Jody? I'll give you some disrespect. The Eagles are not favorite next week.
Yeah, I saw that. Not in the markets I'm looking at. The ones that I see.
I only got the one. I guess it's very close, but from the one I got, the 49ers were a 1-point favorite. I'm sure it'll toggle back and forth, and maybe the Eagles end up favorite. Maybe the Eagles are favorite now on some markets. But the fact that it's even a debate
Yeah,
It's kind of
I'm looking at it. 7 of them right here, and they all have the Eagles as a favorite. If
I got the 8th. It's got the 49ers.
Yeah, if it opened there, it is moved immediately. The Eagles are anywhere from a 1.5 to 2.5 point favorite, which they should be. I think, again, the odds makers get it right because they have to. That's their job. That's their business. There's no bias or rooting or anything involved. It's all about dollars and cents. So we've got all week to talk about.
But even at a 1-point favorite, I mean, you generally get 3 points at home. So what they're saying is essentially San Francisco is a better football team. And by the way, I don't necessarily disagree with that right now for the moment. But that's generally what they're saying by that line, even with the Eagles as a 1-point favorite, which is fine. I mean,
yesterday they were a 3-point favorite, which means the Bills and Eagles were a toss-up. And guess what? The game played damn close to that. Again, They get it right. They're in that business for a reason because they're very good at setting lines. And I think the Eagles will go off as a favorite, not a major favorite, and probably stay less than a field goal. And that's supposed to be the barometer of home field advantage. We got all week to talk about that. Let's talk about how they did what they did yesterday against the Bills. He's McMullen. I'm McDonald. We have our usual Monday stalwart joining us, Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, next here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Here to join in the conversation on Birds 365 about the 10-1. Let me repeat that. 10-1 Philadelphia Eagles is Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com. Living on the Edge was a Bon Jovi song, but you can certainly use it to describe the Philadelphia Eagles and the way they're going about winning football games. Should we just go? Who cares? It doesn't matter how they win. They just win. Wake me up at the end of 60 minutes. You'd be missing out on a hell of a lot of fun. But should that be the attitude of Eagles players, Eagles coaches, Eagles owners, Eagles fans? Yeah, don't give me the details. Just give me the final score. Is that the way the Eagles should be looking at this, Jeff Kerr?
Well, talking to players in the locker room yesterday, I know they know they got plenty to clean up. I mean, the standard is the standard, right? McMullen and I hear it all the time. So, and they weren't too pleased with how they started that game, but they were more than pleased with how they finished. And a couple of the players, they look at it as, hey, we're 10-1 and we feel we could be better. And I mean, look, they're 2 games up on the next closest team in the NFC. That's what you should care about. They can actually afford to lose a football game this week if they choose to. I don't think they want to choose to, but they got wiggle room. The Cowboys don't have that. The 49ers don't have that. They actually can probably clinch home field advantage next week virtually. Not actually, but if they beat the 49ers next week, you're 11-1. You got 3 games up and a tiebreaker over the team that you feel is the biggest threat to you in the conference. That's huge. I mean, 10-1 is 10-1.
Yeah, it is. I mentioned in the opening, Jeff, though, Jalen Hurts seemed a little bit tortured with the game, and he called it weird. And he you remember a couple weeks ago when he said, "When did winning not become the standard?" And then today was back to, "Yeah, we won, but we didn't play up to the standard." He has created this environment where the expectations are just astronomical, and you heard the boos there. And when they have a bad half or a bad quarter or a bad drive, people are saying, "What's wrong? Fire the offensive coordinator, Jeff Kerr. Do this, do that. Bench this guy, bench that guy." What are they too good in some ways?
Doesn't it feel like the Bulls in the 90s, you had to find something wrong with them? They're too old. They don't play defense like they should. Michael Jordan's not shooting like how he's supposed to. You got to bench Steve Kerr. You can't play him. It's what it feels like with the Eagles right now. Every single week, you're right, John. They might just be too good. In a way, I kind of like how they're playing this year compared to last year. Last year, they were blowing everybody out in the first half. But if you look at the numbers.
And they couldn't finish, yeah.
Yeah, and they couldn't finish.
finish.
Yeah. But if you look at the numbers, their point differential isn't that big of a difference. And they're actually averaging more points through 11 games this year than they were last year. It's, I know people like to get on the offensive coordinator around here. I think he's doing a hell of a job through 11 games.
As do I. You're right. The total number of points is the most important thing. They play 60 minutes. Well, we should bounce a little bit because they did get 7 points after the first 60 minutes.
They still count toward the average.
They needed that to get to the certain number, but hey, they had to do what they had to do to win the football game. And we were talking about Hurts before you came on, and the fact that, and Jeff, you're a national writer. I'm a national talk show host on CBS, so we're in this group, but we can judge other national guys. Is it just incompetence that national media members, at least, and this is just my opinion, let me say, don't acknowledge Jalen Hurts' rushing touchdowns? Did I still hear, how many touchdown passes do you have? Other guys in the league, you 10th touchdown passes. But he runs in touchdowns like nobody else's business. Well, except for Josh Allen. He looked pretty good running it yesterday. There's a couple other guys, but a lot of them don't. And people just shrug off his rushing touchdowns. It's the same thing as a passing touchdown. Why don't people get it that Jalen Hurts should be given at least as much credit, if not more credit, for running in touchdowns than throwing touchdowns?
I've talked to Josh Allen a lot over the years about this too. And, him and I made a joke last year. I don't think people knew Josh Allen was in the top 7 all time at rushing touchdowns for a quarterback. He's second now, by the way. He's
time?
Yeah, all time.
He's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And
boy, he's tough to deal with, man. Boy, I mean, that overtime drive, Jeff, they were they would run it on first down, get nothing.
Yep.
And then it'd be 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and he just find a way to convert. Yeah, he's tough to deal with.
I thought he killed Jordan Davis yesterday. Jordan Davis may have pulled more than a hamstring trying to catch him.
Jordan Davis, by the way, got up to 16.5 miles per hour at 330 pounds. Yeah.
They clocked him heading to the sideline. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So speaking about Allen, I was talking to a couple players after the game, a couple of defensive guys, what it's like to defend him. And one player actually told me, I'd love to put him next to Milton Williams and see who's bigger.
Yeah, Josh Allen is huge. I mean, that's part of it. He's really difficult to deal with, and I think he's so athletic, and I think he's so big. I went through this with Dante Culpepper back in the day. He showed up, and he was the first supersized quarterback. I remember the first time I met the guy. I'm like, this guy's a quarterback? I mean, it was absurd. He was bigger than every linebacker on the team by far, and he could run. And Josh Allen's got some of that. You don't expect him to be as athletic as he is because he's so big. And all of a sudden he's turning the corner on you and you can't catch him. But overall, I thought the Eagles defense was kind of shaky. I mean, they give up 500 plus yards. I think you mentioned Milton Williams. I mean, that was a big loss. I think people don't realize how good Milton's been playing this year. Then they had some injury. Fletcher went down, came back, left again. Ultimately, Jalen Carter got banged up. Jordan Davis, as you mentioned, chasing Josh Allen. Zach Cunningham with the hamstring. We're not even bringing up the other side, the biggest injury, Lane Johnson. But are some of these injuries becoming a concern as we get on these weeks? And all of a sudden, here's San Francisco, and you got to worry about all these groins and hamstrings. Is that a concern?
I think we're gonna have a pretty full injury report on Wednesday, there, John. I'm a little concerned. Not having Milton Williams again. That guy's gonna get paid by somebody in free agency if the Eagles don't do it. Whenever he becomes a free agent, 2 years, I guess. So. I think they're going to miss it. Hassan Reddick looked a little banged up yesterday too. I mean, he was, Spencer Brown did a pretty good job on him yesterday, but still, like Josh Allen was having him on skates, and I know the field had a lot to do with that and the conditions. But yeah, I mean, they play him and Josh Sweat way too much. I mean,
man, the numbers, because what were 95 defensive plays the Eagles were on the field. Now, part of that is overtime, but the overtime drive, I think, was 12, 13 plays. So
did you see Reed Blankenship?
He's like a 116.
Yeah, 160. He had not missed a special teams or defensive snap. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm going to call him Lee Garrick from now on.
Shades of Malcolm Jenkins.
Yeah.
Playing every single snap.
Yeah. They had 26. I think he only played, they had 30. They had 30 special team snaps. So he didn't play every special team snap.
I thought he did, but that's a lot.
So he played 95 on defense, 21 on special teams. He was 100% obviously on defense, 58% on special teams. So not quite Malcolm levels, but when you get to 116, I mean, yeah. He had a day. That was the one thing, Jeff. Everybody was exhausted.
Oh, Slade was telling me about that before all the cameras came on. He goes, man, I'm beat. He said, paraphrasing, I'm blank time.
He had to carry. he had to follow Diggs around.
Oh yeah, that's what he said. You try chasing around Stephon Diggs all day, and Bradbury, a couple of those guys are laughing after he said it, but he was beat.
All right. So let me question Sean Desai here. Chasing Stephon Diggs around all day. He sure as hell didn't in the first half. The Eagles sat in zone in the first half. There was no man-to-man in the first half, and Josh Allen found so many receivers down the sideline, past the corner, before the safety, 23-yard gain. He just doesn't even have to throw a perfect pass, just a good, strong, on-the-line pass, and you get 23 yards. And then in the second half, they go, oh, spit, we're behind. Maybe we better go to man. Maybe we better let Slay take their star wide receiver. Is that going to be the modus operandi of the Eagles? Just let them get a big lead. We'll play our zone. We'll stick to our Fangio way of doing things until we fall behind by double digits and then get more aggressive in the second half. Is that the way it's going to play out for the last 6 regular season games too, Jeff Kerr?
I think the biggest asset for the Eagles is the 12 minutes they have in halftime. Whatever they can talk about in that. I mean, John and I know halftime in the NFL is the shortest halftime.
Getting an orange slice and taking a lead.
Yeah, exactly. I have to grab my drink before halftime even starts. That's just basically how it works now. So I'll just say this: it's whatever they change in there. I think it's okay. Yeah, we're like you said, Joe. Okay, we're gonna do this. Okay, we're gonna do this. Okay, good. This is what we're gonna. We'll have Slade trail digs. We'll have Blankenship play up top. Okay, or in the box or whoever it is. You saw more Sidney Brown in the second half too. They make those quick changes, and you're right. It just seems to be okay. We're down, so this is what we're gonna do. I don't think it's that extreme, but it does feel like it.
The Zach Cunningham injury, and I bring this up because Shaq Leonard is visiting Dallas, I believe, tomorrow, scheduled to visit Dallas tomorrow. Is this going to be a battle for Shaq Leonard between the Cowboys and the Eagles?
Doesn't it feel like that the Eagles were interested before this injury, and now I think Howie might be on the phone today. I mean, yeah. I mean, you didn't need him before yesterday. You need him now. You
don't believe in Christian Ellis?
Not like I do Shaq Leonard.
Those 2 plays, Christian Ellis, back to back. First, he blitzes, comes in, tackles a running back. I think he actually made contact with him before the ball left Josh Allen's hands. I think he got his hands on the running back before the running back actually touched the ball. And then the next play, he gets completely sucked into a play and is out of position, and the Bills get a big play. So he had the yin and the yang of it. A phenomenal play, one play, and oh my God, what the hell's he doing? Second play. It's gonna cost for Shaq Leonard. Shaq Leonard's agent, if he's smart, knows if he's got 2 teams bidding against his service, he can actually make some decent money signing.
2 rival teams on top of that.
Right.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, and maybe Shaq Leonard kind of indicates which team he believes has the better chance. If that's the case, you would think it would have to be the Eagles, but we'll see how that shakes out. The one thing we talked about, 95 snaps, guys, we've been talking about it for weeks now, the edge rushers. Hassan Reddick was at 83, Josh Sweat 81. I mean, and BG was his normal-ish 26. And then Nolan Smith, 11. Well, can they continue at this pace with Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat? Obviously, you're typically not going to play 95 snaps, but they weren't letting up on them because they played 95 snaps.
No, so that's what concerned me with the whole Derek Barnett personal reasons thing, and then him eventually getting waived. That was valuable depth for them. And I don't think they think Nolan Smith is ready yet. And defensive ends, edge rushers, it usually takes them a while anyway. But it's clear that it didn't affect Nolan Smith's playing time. He's still only playing 11 snaps. So going with those 2 and the 30, how old's BG? 35?
35, yeah.
Yeah, he's my age. So, yeah, that's a risk. And if you don't have Milton Williams or banked up Jordan Davis and banked up Jalen Carter, you're going to have problems in probably the biggest strength of your football team.
And I know this is really difficult to do. And if you guys have an answer to this, I'd appreciate it. And I'd be very impressed. The snaps that Nolan Smith is playing, is there a rhyme or reason to them? Is it a specific down and distance? Is it a setup where they go, all right, this is a Nolan Smith play, let's send him in there? Or is it just 10 random plays where they go, oh, Sweat's been in there for 18 consecutive snaps. We better get him the hell off the field. I'm having a really tough time determining how the Eagles are determining when they do or don't put Nolan Smith on the field. I would have bet good money that Smith was getting 20 snaps yesterday. No Derek Barnett. He's out of the game. He can't. And and John said, well, they are staying in their lane with BG. And that's what BG is. And that's when BG thrives. The Eagles had one sack yesterday. Who got it? BG. So I think they know exactly how they want to play Brandon Graham. I have no idea how they're playing Nolan Smith. Either you two guys, by judging when he does it, get his very infrequent snap gets in there as to what they're doing or what they're trying to accomplish or what they think of him?
Well, yesterday there was a clear plan because Milton was out. So typically when they use 50 fronts, 5-man fronts, it's Jordan Davis, obviously in the middle, Fletcher Cox and Milton played 4-eye, and then Reddick and Sweat are the edge rushers. That's typically what they start with their 5-man front. They didn't have Milton yesterday, so they started with a 40 front. When they did go to 50, it was Davis, Cox, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, and Brandon Graham. So yesterday, they were using him in those 50 fronts so there was sort of a domino effect without Milton Williams. Typically, leading up to this game, no, I think it's more to what you said, Jody. No rhyme or reason. I'll throw him out there for a play. Usually before, it would always be in 40. It would always be with 4-man, just playing the edge, wide 9, whatever. But they had a specific plan, but they went without Milton Williams. They didn't play as much 5-man fronts as they typically do, which kind of tells you what we've been talking about. They really value Milton Williams, and they want a completely different way of playing defense for the most part up front without him.
Well, what were they in when Marlon played? Because he got some snaps. He made a pretty big play yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Marlon played in both. Marlon played a lot of snaps.
He was in 50 yesterday.
Yeah, he was in both. He was in 50 and 40. He played like 30 something snaps, which are
hell of a lot more than Nolan Smith did.
Yeah. So they remember Fletcher left. So Fletcher only played 22 snaps. So that helped Marlon as well.
True.
He came back for a small portion, and then he left again, and he was ruled out for the game. So Fletcher's, again, 22 for Fletcher. I mean, Fletcher's typically, in a 95 snap game, Fletcher would be up in the 60s, I would imagine. So that elevated. And Jordan Davis played by far a career high 62 snaps. And he played in 40 and 50. So everybody had to toggle back and forth when the injuries started. But if you remember, Jeff, they came out in 4-man fronts. Typically, they start in a 5-man front. And they want to stop the run right away, get in third long, et cetera, et cetera. And they shifted up, which, they were able to persevere without Milton Williams, but
they did do a good job against the run yesterday, all things considered.
Yeah, against the running backs, they did a really good job.
Against Josh Allen.
No, not against Josh Allen. But
Josh Allen's an alien. Tony Romo called him an alien years ago. I've believed him ever since.
You're playing Lamar Jackson. You're going to give up some yardage to the quarterback. You're playing Josh Allen. Tonight, Justin Fields, you're going to give up yardage to the quarterback. It's just part of it. They kept the running backs under 3 yards a carry. That's not bad.
The Ravens have, in my opinion, the best defense in the NFL. Yeah, even better in Cleveland. And Justin Herbert had a 37-yard run last night. You're just like, well, how did he do that? I'm like, because he's Justin Herbert and he's athletic and he's good. It even happens to the best defenses. So, yeah, every time a quarterback runs for like those yards like Josh Allen did on that touchdown, I'm just like, these guys are good.
All right. Eschewing the fact that I'll probably get ripped here on the stream because I'll mention something is to be questioned and not just waving Eagle pom-poms. I said this about the Chief game last week. Eagles have talent. Eagles have toughness. Eagles have the clutch gene. Man, did they show the clutch gene again yesterday. Thank you, Jake Elliott.
They're the best clutch team in the NFL. It's not even clutch.
Yeah, it's exactly right. But add a little luck in. Never hurts. And certainly Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropping a wide open pass behind the defense with 3 yards of separation with less than 2 minutes to go that would have given the lead. That's a little lucky. Yeah, a little luck on the Eagles side. It happened again yesterday.
James Cook.
Cook down the sideline. He's
How did he drop that wheel route? How?
Don't know, but he did.
How does Josh Allen not hit Gabe Davis on the play before the field goal? I thought
that was a blitz. I mean, that they hurried him. So
right,
that,
at least
they
made that more difficult.
I also still think if they go inside like the route Davis is running, I think Slate breaks it up. But that's just me.
I wouldn't call that one lucky. You're right. John's right. They're eventually lucky, but lucky was caused by Eagles defense and rushing Allen and making him throw the ball before he wanted to. 2 other ones I want to touch on. The A.J. Brown catch/drop that they didn't review. It was called a
I'm glad you brought that up, Jody, because we can't see that great, and I didn't see
we
I was surprised. I was surprised they didn't challenge that.
Because Sean McDermott is, I like the guy, but
I don't think
he's holding that
head coach.
Yeah, I think he's holding that team back big time.
And I'll give you my opinion on it. Yeah, I was watching on TV with a monitor with the volume. I don't think they would have overturned it. It was one of those cutting edge, really close. He definitely had control of the football. He definitely took a step. Did his second foot come down before the ball came? It was dangerously close. Now, because they called it incomplete on the field, I don't think they would have overturned it. So if they had challenged, my guess is that would have stayed as an incomplete. But it was this close. It was really close. It could have got, if they had called it a fumble and they'd gone to review, I think they would have kept it as a fumble. How many times we see this every week in the NFL? Both you guys.
Yeah.
They don't overturn calls unless it's blatantly obvious that the ref on the field made a mistake.
I got to be honest. I thought it was live. I thought it was a fumble. I thought it was bang, bang, but I thought it was a fumble. And I was surprised it wasn't looked at. But you're probably right. If it were that close and they obviously called it incomplete on the field, they're probably not going to overturn it. Vice versa, if they called it a fumble, they probably would have kept it. But I thought, naked eye, oof, that looked like a fumble.
Which is, again, what I'll say. Sorry, Eagle fans, I can't stand what we said is, and as will the Eagles in their play, they hate to hear the word luck. Sometimes you get a little lucky and you take it and you cash it in and you move on. But they were a little bit lucky.
My response to that, you have to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good.
That's true. You make your own luck. You got to be in a position to take advantage of luck. And that's where the Eagles kind of set themselves apart.
I'm telling you guys, the Eagles really are the anti-Cowboys. They are. The Cowboys blow out everybody, but when they play a good team, they don't create their own luck. And, you have a quarterback who gets sacked.
All right. Well, all right. Let me bring up the biggest reason I've heard from the haters over the past week.
You have haters, John? I wasn't aware.
Shockingly. The biggest one I hear is point differential, Jeff. The Cowboys, I think, are plus 3,000. The Eagles are like plus 60.
Of all the stats I hate in sports, point differential is the one I can't stand because the Bills have an amazing point differential and they're 6-6.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it in baseball. I hate it in basketball. I really hate it in basketball. Oh, it's an annoying sport. Annoying stat.
Yeah, it's best in hockey than it is any other sport. But let me give you the one other one that I thought was a little lucky. And again, you guys didn't have to deal with this because you were in the press box. Did they keep the volume on the TV up in the press box, or did they mute that?
No. Oh, but no, we got the whole pregame festivities yesterday, though, John.
All right. I'm not talking.
Did you hear that? All that BS going on back there?
No.
They had, so you know how they play like all the music like out on the stand when they're warming up?
Yeah.
We had to hear that yesterday, me and DeCecco. And
Really?
we're just like, this better not be all day, because we were trying to write stuff pregame yesterday, and we're hearing all the 90s stuff and all the party in the USA and all the.
Well, I
BS.
did. Yeah, I heard the 90s music, 80s music. I guess they went with Rob Bass at halftime. But
yeah, they went with Rob Bass, but
yeah, I don't know.
I'm talking about in-game announcing
No.
Nance and Romo. And Romo just annoys the snot out of Eagle fans, understandably so. He's getting crushed.
He's a good announcer.
He's a very good announcer. He's not as good as he was. I don't even know if he was.
We had that discussion. I think they toned him down because
as do I.
I'm not commenting. I am not commenting.
All right,
there's a CBS guy. You just
stay neutral.
confirmed it for
I'll
me,
do
Seth.
the commenting. Yesterday on the play, Hassan Reddick grabbed both the front and the back of Josh Allen's jersey, which you're allowed to grab the front. And oh, by the way, he ripped it about halfway down his chest, but he also got his hand into the back, and he was out of the pocket, so it could have been considered a horse collar tackle. Now, Allen did what he's good at, and so is Mahomes. He gives that little half toss to avoid the sack. He takes the intentional grounding, so it ends up being the same as the sack. The only thing you're doing is not giving a defensive player credit for the sack. It ticked off Josh Sweat last week. It should have ticked off Hassan Reddick yesterday, but Hassan couldn't really get ticked because he did. He got the back of the jersey, and they could have called the horse collar tackle, and they didn't. And Romo and Nance were just continually how do they not see the horse collar? They're reviewing it. How do you not review if it's a horse collar tackle? Well, because horse collar tackles aren't reviewable. They were only reviewing the was it or wasn't it an intentional grounding penalty. They were right. They overdid it, but they were right. It was a horse collar tackle.
Oh, no, they were right.
The ref just missed that. So when you get a missed call that was pretty blatant and obvious, and that's a huge difference. A horse collar tackle is compared to an intentional grounding. That's a 30-yard difference right there. And the ref was right on top of it, and somehow he missed it. Plus the debatable call on the fumble with A.J. Brown and the drop touchdown pass down the sideline on the wheel route. There's a little luck involved yesterday. We got to acknowledge the fact that the Eagles got a little lucky, right?
Yeah, so sometimes during the game, especially if it's a CBS broadcast, I will put on the headset and while watching the game on the field, listen to Nance and Romo. I still can't get over how well Nance called that winning touchdown yesterday. Jim Nance has had some great calls, and a lot of them are scripted, of course, but that one you can't script. And I didn't see it right away because it was on the far side of the field. But then when I watched the replay and saw Kelsey make that block,
oh man,
I think it was on Dodson. Romo caught that right away. I was like,
great ball play. I asked Jalen Hurts about that play. By the way, the Eagles used motion with DeAndre Swift. Motion worked, helped them, and opened up the other side of the field. So maybe they'll use.
They ran a lot of 21
a little bit more
in the first half yesterday.
Yeah, they've been using a lot of 21, a lot of 10 without Dallas Goedert. So a little bit of change. All right, I'm going to make a declarative statement, and I want your reaction, both you guys. Jalen Carter is the best pure football player on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Ooh, this is tough.
I'm just watching Baldy's breakdowns this
I
morning.
would go.
He's got a Jalen Carter, but this guy's unbelievable.
I'll tell you what,
field goals.
He's top three.
He almost made an interception on a spike in Kansas City. He was that close. He's beaten play. I hate to bring up Aaron Donald because Aaron Donald, but that's the only other guy. He beats guys immediately. It is unbelievable when he gets and he doesn't. The Eagles are being very cautious with him as a rookie.
I'll say there's one better. There's one better than Carter, Lane Johnson.
Boy, Lane is phenomenal, and we have to talk about Lane's injury, but I think Jalen Carter's better.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, it's your Lane Johnson or Jalen Carter. We're going pure football players.
That's
here.
how good he is.
He's insanely good.
It's it's as soon as he gets you, and obviously, and we saw it with Jordan Davis as well. Georgia is so talented that they rotate so much. They're not used to playing as much. And Jordan's finally, as I said, up to 62 snaps, and Jalen played a lot because he had to as well. But from play to play, when he's out there, he's so dominant.
It's a major difference when he's on the field compared to when he's not.
And you get from those Baldy breakdowns, or even if you zero in yourself when you're watching the game, they treat him like he's Aaron Donald. He gets doubled all the time. He gets held all the time. Now, people get held all the time in the National Football League, so I'm not going to say he's the only guy in the league who gets held. Of course, a lot of guys get held. But he's a rookie, and they go out of their way to try and hold him in check, and he still makes plays.
I could argue this from last week. Creed Humphrey, I know Eagles fans may not want to hear this, but Creed Humphrey may be the best. He may be the best center in football, and I thought Jalen Carter just abused him last week. Abused him.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word abuse.
Now, he had a pretty good game. I mean, not too many people have good games against Creed Humphrey.
That's fair enough.
Mahomes got out of it and made plays. And
Mahomes is Mahomes.
Made throws, and receivers dropped throws that hit them in the
They
air.
dropped Justin Watson dropped the best 4th and 17 pass I've ever seen.
It doesn't quite
Justin
wait when you're trying to play Mahomes. Yeah, nobody gets to Mahomes. He's got escapability like nobody else. All right, Jeff Kerr, we appreciate you jumping on each and every single Monday. Thank you much. We will talk to you next Monday. All right, last thing. There was one outlet last night that came out with the 49ers as actually the favorite in the game this upcoming week.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I got a nice little stat for you guys on that. The Eagles are the first team, 10-1 or better, not to rest their starters and be a home underdog ever.
Yeah, they're not a home underdog. They were a home underdog for 20 minutes. Check the betting markets now.
Did they change it already?
Of course they did. So that was one person trying to grab attention by going, ooh, let's make the 49ers a favorite to start the game. Enough money came in, boom, it was gone. Before you could blink, it was gone. So the Eagles are the favorite in each of the betting markets. Under a field goal, though. 1.5, 2, one's got 2.5. But
still disrespect. Under a field goal is disrespect.
Can I ask you guys this? So I, as John knows, I got Jalen Hurts stats so many in the back of my head here. So when I do quarterbacks when they're tied or trailing, do you know Jalen Hurts by far is the best? You guys want to take a shot at who has the worst quarterback?
Dak Prescott.
It's not Dak. Now Dak's numbers are actually pretty good. It's
worst quarterback when trailing. Well, is it some scrub like Tommy DeVito?
He's not a scrub. He's probably gonna be a Pro Bowler this year.
Oh shoot.
Who's playing poorly?
He's been getting some MVP love too recently.
Tua.
Not Tua. Tua's actually up. Tua's right there with Hurts. He's like second or third. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if he's getting some MVP love. There's not many.
Let's put it this way: he's on a very talented football team.
Brock Purdy.
Yeah, Brock Purdy. He has the worst passer rating when tied or trailing. Worst completion percentage. Worst passer. It's the complete opposite of Jalen.
Yeah, well, they had that.
So then let me ask you a question. Perfect setup. Thank you, Jeff Kerr. If that's the case, at the link next Friday, they flip the coin. It comes up heads. The 49ers called tails. Eagles have the choice. They should absolutely take the ball because if you go down and score, Brock Purdy can't beat him. You just told me he's the worst quarterback in the league when trailing. Well, then guess what? Get the lead. Play from in front.
I got
an idea.
Hey, here's
Thank you for making the argument for me, Jeff Kerr.
Here's one for you. Maybe Kyle Shanahan will put a backup tight end on Hassan Reddick again and see if that works.
Boy, Kyle gets kept. Kyle's been running that play. His dad ran that play.
Yeah, that's a Mike Shanahan special.
Yeah, I mean, that play is run by every offense in the NFL. The quarterback has to understand that the tight end is not there to block Hassan Reddick. The tight end is there to get in his way, and the ball's got to come out. So
yeah, he held on that ball way too long in that game.
There's and that, by the way, all sacks. And quarterbacks who hang on to the football take a lot of sacks. Jalen Hurts takes a lot of sacks. Like last week, well, he got sacked 5 times. Jalen's going to take sacks. He's trying to extend plays. It's part of it. It's baked into it. Patrick Mahomes, not going to take sacks. Tom Brady, not going to take sacks in his prime. Peyton Manning, not going to take sacks. If you're running the Shanahan play action, yeah, occasionally there's going to be a tight end blocking an edge rusher. And if it goes wrong, people are, oh, could you do that? They've been doing it for 35 years. It works more than not because of the design, but you got to execute.
It is funny, though, how Brock Purdy is the worst quarterback in the league when he's trailing. It is kind of funny.
Well,
as good as he's been this year.
Well, I mean, look, Jody's the biggest Brock Purdy guy there is. And
I love him at Iowa State.
And by the way, he's playing tremendously well.
You don't love the fact
he crushed it on Thursday night. He was incredible Thursday.
He is playing tremendously well. I think he's a great fit for that offense. But look, if he was on a bad team, he wouldn't look good. You'd rather have.
Did we say that about Jalen Hurts, though? If Jalen Hurts wasn't throwing A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and playing behind
Jalen Hurts is the top 5 quarterback in the National Football League.
Quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, would we be saying the same thing about Jalen Hurts?
Well, no.
If he was on a bad team, he wouldn't be the MVP.
If Jalen Hurts is on the Carolina Panthers, he wins more games than Brock Purdy on the Carolina Panthers. That's the point.
I bet the Panthers have 4 or 5 wins right now if they had Jalen Hurts.
That's the point. If you put somebody, and you can't, but if you put somebody on the backing with the same supporting cast, that's Jalen Hurts is better than Brock Purdy. Now, is he going to look as good as he looks here? No, absolutely not. He's not going to look as good because he's got a great supporting cast. But if you give the supporting cast, now where it gets a little bit hinky is I do think that Brock Purdy is a better Kyle Shanahan quarterback than Jalen Hurts would be. But if you put Jalen Hurts in with a crappy coach and a crappy team and a crappy offensive coordinator, he's going to be able to do more things than Brock Purdy in the same situation.
The Patriots would not be as terrible as they are on offense than Jalen Hurts. That's the perfect example.
Yeah. So everything's about fit and scheme. I think Brock Purdy's a great fit for Kyle's scheme, and that's all that matters. And he's doing a great job in that scheme. And that's all that if you put him in the Eagles scheme, it's not going to work. But he's in the perfect scheme for him. He's a quick processor. He gets rid of the football. He's got playmakers. He lets them make plays. There's nothing wrong with that.
I get on Mike McCarthy a lot, but he's getting the most out of Dak Prescott this year. I mean, this is the best I've seen Prescott play. Last 5 weeks, this is the best I've seen him play in a couple years.
Jody knows. I've always thought Mike McCarthy gets too much crap. I think he's a good coach. Not a great coach, but I think he's a good coach.
I think it's the in-game decision.
But I think we got to see him have a big game with Dak Prescott against a good defense. When that happens, that's when I'll go.
You know what, John? I think it's the in-game decision.
His ability to call plays. I've always liked him as a coach. I think he's a motivator. I think he's a smart guy. I think he handles his staff well. I just don't think he's ever been anything special as a play caller.
The players like him. I know that.
That's being the head coach. My question on McCarthy is McCarthy calling plays. And they put up a lot of points this year, but they beat up on bad teams, and they continue to beat up on bad teams. Even when they get big leads, they don't care. They pad the numbers. We'll see. They got
they're trying to up their NFL playoff ranking. You know, they think there's a selection committee every Tuesday that picks the playoff ranking.
How did Dak and McCarthy fare against the 49er defense this year?
Not well.
Not good. They're the Penn State. A wise man told me they're the Penn State of the NFL.
They have the worst strength of victory in the league, and they are 0-2 against any team that has a 500 record or better. So,
like I said, that's how I'll judge Coach McCarthy's play calling ability, not his head coach. I think he's a good. I think we're 3 for 3. We all think he's a good head coach. I just go, I got no friggin' idea if he can call plays against a good defense.
Yeah, John, I think our mutual friend Martin Frank actually enjoyed my one comeback to a Cowboys fan on Friday morning. They said, well, you the only players on your schedule. I'm like, yeah, correct. And they lost to the two good teams they played on that schedule.
He is Jeff Curry. Joins us each and every single Monday. JK, thanks, brother. We'll talk to you next Monday.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff Kerr here with us on Birds 365. All right, quickie timeout. We come back. Chris Franklin yet to come. We'll talk to him in a little over 10 minutes here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
You got Mac here on Birds 365. McDonald and McMullen hanging with you. Chris Franklin going to join us coming up in just a couple of minutes. Jeff Kerr just gave us this stat about Purdy is supposedly the worst quarterback in the NFL when trailing his passer rating or whatever is the worst. I saw a stat a couple of weeks ago that said that Dak was the worst. So maybe it's flopped. But
I thought it would. I thought I saw that as well. But you know,
I don't know where Jeff's coming up with that. I'm not going to question him all that much about it, other than
he's usually the stat guy. I wouldn't question Jeff when it comes to stats, but
he is on top of it. But here's the quantifier we'd put on Judge and Purdy. The 49ers have now, like the Eagles and everybody. Well, the Ravens have actually played 12 games. How many teams are left that haven't had a bye yet? I know the Ravens are one. There's got to be another one because there's got to be a minimum of 2 teams on a bye next week. For whatever reason, they've got one more win than everybody else in the AFC. You got 3 different teams. No, Kansas City, Jacksonville, and Miami all have 3 losses, and the Ravens, but the Ravens have an extra win. So
Bye week next week is Baltimore, Buffalo, Chicago, Las Vegas, Minnesota, and the Giants.
Wow, so there are still
A lot
6
of
teams
buys.
that gotta finish it off. All right.
And week 14, Arizona, Washington have buys, and I think that's it. So 2 more bye weeks, but a lot of teams after tonight's game. So it's Baltimore, Buffalo, Chicago, and Minnesota playing tonight, Las Vegas and the Giants.
That's why Buffalo's in trouble now, because they've only got 5 games left because they've already played 12, 6-6. Not getting into the playoffs. They're going to have to come close to winning out to make the postseason. So that was a big loss for the Bills yesterday. But the 49ers have 3 losses. How long have they actually been trailing in games?
Yeah. Wow. The 3-game stretch. It's almost.
They usually jump out to a lead.
Yeah.
So of all the minutes, if they play 60 minutes times 11 games, 660 minutes, how many of those minutes of the 49ers actually been trailing? So are we looking at analyzing 42 minutes out of 600?
Oh, that's why I don't like stats in general for the NFL, because I don't
good, but you just have to keep them in their proper context.
Yeah.
People just quote stats and don't really narrow into what they're saying.
Well, yeah,
They
everything
just make-
everything is so contextual in the NFL. And the 49ers weren't good for a small stretch and I presume that's when these numbers came to the forefront, when Trent Williams wasn't out there and Deebo Samuel wasn't out there. You see how the Eagles struggle without Lane Johnson. Well, those are big time players. And when they've been on the field, and unfortunately for the Eagles, they're scheduled to be on the field next week. They've been really good. And when you add Christian McCaffrey's a part of that, and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, when they have Ayuk and McCaffrey and Kittle and Samuel, I always talk about pick your poison from the Eagles' perspective when they're healthy, and AJ, Dallas, and Devontae, and now DeAndre. Same thing, man. That's Sean Desai's world this week. Pick your poison, dude. And the thing about the 49ers, they can rotate Samuel and McCaffrey because they're both. Deebo can play running back and McCaffrey can play wide receiver. And I've never seen that before. And I don't mean just play. Like the Eagles can line up DeAndre Swift at wide receiver and say, well, he's a good receiving running back, and he is. And I'm saying Christian McCaffrey's a good receiver. Not a good running back playing receiver.
If they made him a full-time wide receiver, he could be a top 20 wide receiver.
Exactly. And Deebo Samuel, similarly, is a good running back. Not a good jet sweep guy. He can run the football in the traditional fashion, and I've never seen that before. And they use it, and yeah. Pick your poison.
Yeah, I thought of you yesterday. Eagles touchdown to Devontae back in the end zone. Ron Jaworski on the postgame stuff on NBC Sports specifically noted the reason that worked, the fake bubble screen that they went to and Jalen pumped, and that gave him just enough separation. So the bubble screen can be an effective play, John. It might be the ugliest play on the planet. You know what? It's pretty when it's a fake and they give it to somebody else and it opens up the
defense. It worked last year. I say it all the time. It worked last year with Zach Pascal, the Zach Pascal touchdown. They faked the bubble screen, fooled everybody. It worked last week in Kansas City. The bubble screen itself was ugly. And then they went with the inside screen right off the bubble screen, and they got a big play to DeAndre Swift. Yeah, it can it seems for the Eagles, it can work in a complementary fashion. What it doesn't work is by itself.
Right, but
and
that's
Julio
part of
Jones,
what it is. That's why you run to set up the pass. You have to do part A to get the big payoff in part B. You actually have to throw the bold screen a couple of times to make the defense play honestly. Then it opens up things for you.
My point, and I've said it, and it doesn't matter, and I said it doesn't matter, but it is the least aesthetic play in football. And I said, me personally, I hate it. I don't like watching it. I don't like it. I don't like college football any longer because of the bubble screen and how many freaking times they run it. It's ugly. That's it. It's ugly to me. And similar
But you know
to
what, John? A lot of the rest of the National Football League, and I'll readily admit it's probably biased, they think the tush push is ugly. It's a rugby play. It's not a football play.
and I'm fine with it. You think it's ugly. Now, for fans of the Cowboys or, who say, oh, the Eagles are saying, now that's bullshit. But if they don't like the play and say it's ugly, yeah, I'm fine with it. It's not, certainly, I have no problem with that. But it's legal. And until they make it illegal, there's nothing wrong.
Much like the bubble screen, completely.
Yeah,
legal.
I'm not saying people shouldn't run it. All I'm saying is it's an ugly play. It's an ugly. Did you see Tom Brady on Stephen A. Smith's show?
No.
Who just destroyed the NFL product? Destroyed it.
Oh, I saw some quotes after the fact.
Yeah. And I'm so happy because Tom said it. And obviously, Tom has a little more gravitas than I do. But he basically said what I've been saying for. This is an ugly product, getting uglier by the year, and nobody seems to recognize it because it's compelling. You have overtime games like you had yesterday. You have so many one-score games. I think people forget they watch 55 minutes of bad football, and because the final 5 minutes are exciting, they leave the session, whether it's watching television or being at the stadium, they say, wow, that was great. No, it wasn't. It used to be a lot better. Now, part of that is safety and the safety dogma, protection of players. And as Tom kind of pointed out, there's always unintended consequences to that. And what Tom said is they don't teach players how to protect themselves any longer. Like, they would teach and coach fundamentals. And if you're an offensive player, and Tom brought up Ray Lewis, he wasn't throwing the football over the middle and leading his receivers in the Ray Lewis because he didn't want to get him killed. It was your job to protect yourself, not the defensive player's job to protect you. And that was I thought one of the great points that Tom had. But yeah, I mean, it's ugly.
No, here's what I would say to Tom Brady, and I missed his interview with Stephen A., but I saw some quotes afterwards. What happened this offseason, Tom, that the NFL got to be that bad a product?
No, he's not saying it wasn't bad when he was in the league. He wasn't.
Then, Tom, why didn't I hear this from you the year before that?
Because he was playing.
Or the year before?
Because
so you kneel on the shield when you're playing, but as soon as it's over, then you can actually be honest with the people. So he was basically covering up and lying for the last 15 years of his career.
No, he wasn't lying, unless you consider omission lying.
Yeah, I usually do. A lie of omission, sure, of course.
I mean, I think it would be, if he said, no, the product is the same, I think he'd be lying. It's not. I mean, you've been a long time football fan. You've seen it. You know the product's not the same. It's evident. It's abundantly clear to anybody who's been a long time football fan. A lot of that is safety driven, as I said.
90%.
But
and of the 90% of that is the NFL is afraid of getting sued for concussions.
Not all. A lot of it is, but not all. A lot of it is analytics. A lot of it is same thing has happened in basketball and baseball. A lot of it is the math equation I always talk about. And Appalachian State figured out all those many years ago against Michigan, hey, you know what? We can't play with this team, but if we get our playmakers into space and all of a sudden the bubble screens, the spread offense and all that kind of stuff, that's where it all started. That one game, and college football has turned that way. The NFL has turned that way. And it's just like 3-pointers in basketball. It's just like launch angles in baseball. That the sport suffers now, and I always say it's only Howie Roseman's job to win. It's only Theo Epstein's job. Theo is a guy I tremendously respect, not only because he ended 2 curses, and I know I'm on a tangent. We got to get to Chris, but he's a guy I tremendously respect, and he took, by the way, he said, you know what? I'm part of the problem. Because the game isn't as aesthetic as it once was because of what they've turned it into. Their job is to win, but the job of the leagues, Major League Baseball, they should have banned the ship years ago. Years ago. You can change rules whenever you want. Go all the way back to Bob Gibson. He was too dominant, lower the mound. Wilt Chamberlain, he was too dominant, change the rules. You can do whatever you want to make the game more aesthetic, and the NFL is behind it.
I would just say that I would have been more impressed with Tom Brady if he'd actually done it while he was still playing. He's the GOAT. He is the greatest of all time. He is put on a pedestal, and he could have affected change earlier. But no, he was a good little company man.
He couldn't affect change. He can't affect change now, but he can tell the truth now.
Well, then who can? Then how are we ever going to get Roger Goodell at all? But who would make them do it? We've got evidence of years of them not changing.
They don't.
So what's going to make them change, John? If not somebody speaking up,
the only thing that would make the NFL change is people tuning out, and people aren't tuning out.
How's that working? With the Eagles getting the highest Monday night rating in 27 years against the Chiefs last week.
As long as people accept it,
it's not happening. They're not changing.
Yeah, as long
as the only way it changes is the massive decrease in television.
As long as people accept a shoddy product, they're going to give you a shoddy product.
Yeah. Apparently they don't think it's a shoddy product because they're turning in waves. He's McMullen. I'm McDonald. Chris Franklin waiting patiently. He's next here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower, on one of their stats? Then do what you usually do on a Sunday. Watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Mac talking with our buddy from NJ.com, Chris Franklin, who is coming to us from home, not the studio, not outside. He's got no squirrels. He's got no birds. He's comfortably ensconced inside.
Too cold, man. Too cold to be out with the birds these time of years.
Come on, Eagle fans sat in that rain yesterday for that entire
That's their
game.
problem.
Chris Franklin could go outside and let
if they want to do that, Godspeed. Yeah,
I think they had some help, with a little bit of alcohol. It warms them up, I don't want to drink too much on here.
Before and during the game, never happened.
Godspeed. But hey, we'll talk about weather. We haven't talked enough about Jake Elliott. What were you thinking, Chris? 59 yards in that weather. I did not think that football was going through. What were your thoughts?
I'll be honest, what's the name? There's another reporter that was asking a couple of us, right before the snap, what do you think it happens? Like, nah, this is a mess. Like, it is, because it's just, you saw the wind, the way it was going, it was pushing in, and how wet it was, and where the spot was. Like, there's no way you can make it, and that's what we get for doubting Jake Elliott again. That's every time you keep thinking, like, you know what, you can't do it. He just finds a way to get it done, and you look at you just look at his career now. And you look at the big spots that he's had, and you just gotta admire a guy and go, hey, you know what? This guy is he when all is said and done, and this is no disrespect to David Akers, when all is said and done, he'll probably be the best kicker in
yeah, he already is. All due respect to David Akers. And David Akers, by the way, is the person that Brandon Graham surpassed yesterday for the most games played in franchise history. So he was a tremendous kicker, but the best kicker in Eagles history is out there right now.
And
Chris Bonial?
I'll tell you, not Chris Bonial. I'll tell you what I said on the air and what I was thinking that I didn't say on the air, because I was on CBS at the time. And the host asked me, did I think Elliott was going to make it? And I said yes, because he had 60-yard range and he had already done it, game on the line, wouldn't bother him. Yeah, the elements made it more questionable, but I had just faith in him and he was going to make it. But in my mind, I was thinking, are we really going to have to call Kelsey on the carpet if he misses this? Because he took the 2 penalties that pushed him back 10 yards and made it a 59-yard kick. And he's Jason Kelsey. We can't call Jason Kelsey on the carpet for anything, can we? If he had missed, I think we would have had to, but it all went by the boards when Jake did what he did.
You would have to, like, he was on the field, and you have to call out that happened. And yeah, he almost did take them all out of field goal range completely. And had this been a couple years ago,
out of field goal range, he just happened to have a kicker who extended the field goal range. Even Jake after the game said, "Yeah, that was farther than we thought would be the range for the day," and he called that the toughest kick he's ever made. So, yeah, Jason should feel. And
let me give credit to my buddy Joe DeCamera. Because I saw he tweeted this during the game. He was really ticked off at whoever the CBS. Good thing Jeff Kerr's gone, so we can take a shot at CBS. I kind of work for CBS too. I'm on CBS Sports Radio, but I don't give a flying fart. They set the maximum range for Jake Elliott on that field goal at like 49 yards. What are you talking about? 49 yards.
Well, I think that was weather related. Probably weather related.
Yeah, and it was funny because I thought,
how'd that work out, CBS? You adjusted it because of weather? Oh, he put a 59-yarder in your face. Take that. And the camera said that on Twitter. I said same exact thing. They're not showing enough. We talk about respect too much here on Birds 365. They showed disrespect to Jake Elliott. Yes, they did. CBS.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny too. That's of all people, probably one of the best insights he had all day. But Tony Romo, he even called it out as well too. They like you don't do that on air. You say maybe get the silent button and say like, hey, that. But like, yeah, he called it out like. He continued. Elliott just continues to impress, and I don't know what's next. Are we going to start judging like, well, he should have made a 64-yarder that was well within his range? We're starting to get to that territory. It's crazy how he's playing.
Yeah, he has never missed a field goal inside of 2 minutes to either tie or win a game or overtime. Never missed.
Yeah,
so
I think T Mac had that stat yesterday. I'd never seen it. 8 for 8. Game-winning field goal, either last play of the game and or overtime. 8 for 8. That's why he is the best kicker in Eagles history.
Yeah, I still remember that time when he was playing for Memphis and he came into Temple late, and I should have known then. He was kicking for Memphis, kicked the game winner at the end. Temple was horrible at the time, but he saw it kicking the end. It's like, oh, this guy's pretty good. All right, little known, he already knew that, and he would be the guy he is. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And by the way, he was a fifth round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, who kept Randy Bullock over Jake Elliott.
Ouch!
Put him on the practice squad though, so they had the safety net, and then I believe it was Caleb Sturgis who got hurt. And the Eagles signed him off the Bengals practice squad, and the rest is history, as they say. Yeah, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Chris Franklin, Jake Elliott, another example of that. But he was a big time kicker. Anytime you're drafted as a kicker, you're pretty good.
Right.
Yeah. Alex Henry.
Fourth round pick. Alex Henry. Yeah. All right, not always. You're a good. How about I'll revamp my statement. You're a very good college kicker. How about that?
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, there you go. It's so bad on that one, but yeah, like you got that. Even with the, I don't know what it is. You got to give them credit. I don't know what it is about that position. They usually can find the right guys. I mean, you look at Cameron Dicker. Even when Elliott went out, Cameron Dicker now is actually looking like a very good kicker.
Because Cameron Dicker was a better backup than Matt Amendola. Remember Matt Amendola?
Oh,
Arizona.
gosh.
Matt Prater was hurt, and they had to go with Matt Amendola, who Jody knows from his Jets days.
Jet days. Cardinal miss against the Eagles, and yesterday from 56.
Oh, he hit the crossbar.
He hit the crossbar because he can't make one from 50. Jake Elliott walks out in the pouring rain on a muddy field, and he nails one for 59. Matt Amendola, oh, sorry, hit the crossbar. Doink.
Didn't he use Wheaties? Man, that game was just crazy. But yeah, they've done well.
Wheaties can't help him. He's not a 50 kicker. All right, I need help from you guys because you were there. I was not just judging on TV. You can't see something like this. You got to be at the stadium too. How many plays did Quez Watkins, with his unbelievable speed, open it up for someone else yesterday for the Eagles and the snaps that he had? Because he wasn't actually targeted on any of it. Jalen didn't deign to throw him the football at all. But the threat that is Quez Watkins, how many lanes did he open up for his fellow wide receivers yesterday?
I thought there actually were a couple. The problem was they couldn't protect, especially early on. They couldn't protect anything, so they had he couldn't throw the ball at AJ.
I was surprised Quez played as much as he did, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's interesting that, they can't get the ball to Julio. And it's usually a bubble screen, and which goes nowhere. He played 47 snaps. Alameda played 18, had the big play, the extended play. By the way, what are people? That happened to Alabama, Auburn. What are people doing on these long they don't cover people in the end zone. When did that start, Chris Franklin? And Quez played 16 snaps, and they can't get, except for the Alameda play, that's a schoolyard play. That's not in the.
You don't think they drew it up just like that, John? Really?
No, I do
not.
It's like, hey, okay, just run around and we'll try to hit you in the back and I'll put the ball on you. Which, by the way, still remember all that talk about Hurts not being able to roll to his left and throw.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Worked on it. Worked on it. But to be
yes.
fair, see, I think a lot of people, they'll bring up, and you get this as well, Chris, we'll say something in the moment. Like if we said that in 2021, he couldn't go left. Tampa Bay won a playoff game because he couldn't go left.
Yep.
And then he's the kind of guy who just works and works and works and turns a weakness into a strength. And now he can. People evolve. And he has evolved, and he's doing a tremendous job. And that was a great throw. But boy, man, if I were Sean McDermott and I had hair, I'd be pulling it out.
I think he just grew some just to try to tear it out, which I don't know, it's bad. But yeah, I think it just goes to, I look at that. That's probably one of the more defining moments of his career. I think he could go for all that stuff like Super Bowl stuff. I think that was, the fact that he was able in the middle of that comeback, it just encapsulated how far he's come as a quarterback and how much you've seen this offense. If there's struggles, especially like yesterday when they're down or what have you, they're able to scramble around. He's able to find a way, put the ball where it needs to be, and help continue with that comeback. So I look at it, I think that if anything, if they have that highlight reel where they show if he does wind up winning the MVP, I think that's going to be one of the first couple of clips or the highlight clip that they use to show like, hey, this is why this guy should earn that award.
All right, before I got on the MVP road with Jalen, I do want to ask you this because it might be something that actually happens today in the real world. I'm going to make you Howie Roseman for a day, Chris Franklin. And you get a call today from Shaq Leonard's agent. And he says, listen, Shaq wants to come play with you guys. He knows you got the best chance to go to the Super Bowl. He's a ring chaser like everybody else. He's in the mercenary market that McMullen likes to refer to. He'll be a mercenary. He'll come play for you for $5 million for the rest of the season because he was scheduled to make $6 million. That's what, if the Eagles had claimed him, they would have owed $6 million on his salary. So he missed this past week. So I'll play for $5 million. And he says, yeah, oh, by the way, I got Jerry Jones on hold on the other line. He's already put $3 million on the table. So you guys need him more. He'd prefer to go to you, but you got to pay him exactly what he was supposed to make if he hadn't been released. So you got to get us $5 million. You're Howie Roseman. You believe him. What do you do?
I'm trying to find a way to do it. They get the cap space. They're like three or something like that. They're limited. But I'm going, if I find a way to get the money, yeah, I'm doing it. I think he do, especially
how he's got a plan. He's already figured out who he's got to talk to, had conferences with their agent. We're going to add more money to your salary now to clear it up later. He's the best on the planet at that. So that's already been taken care of. But the number's bigger than you thought it was going to be. It's going to be $5 million for the last 6 games of the season. Otherwise, he's going to go sign with the Cowboys. If you're Howie Roseman, Howie, what are you doing?
I think you sign him. I think especially for twofold. One, I look at the Zach Cunningham. We don't know how the full extent of that injury he has. But you're now looking at Christian Ellis and Nicholas Morrow being your linebackers heading into maybe 1, maybe 2, who knows, 3, depending on how severe it is. You need another body in there, and I don't think Van Sumer is going to be elevated to the active roster. So I think that's 1. And 2, I look at the leadership, not just with his ability on the field. It's not the same Shaq Leonard we saw from 3 years ago, but it's still decent enough. I think you can get enough out of him, but you have a true bona fide leader with Nakobe Dean out at that second level. I mean, if you look at every level of defense, you tell me you have Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham on the line scrimmage. You got Shaq Leonard in the middle, and then you got Kevin Byard back there. In pressure situations, providing that leadership aspect of it too. Yeah, I do that. I think you almost have to. And I look at Shaq Leonard. I don't care if it's a linebacker. We know how his team doesn't value linebackers. Blah blah blah. I think at this moment now, especially with how teams are starting to attack them, and you need to stop these run games that are coming up because some good run games coming up on the schedule. I think you need them.
I'm going to be the only one who has any fiscal responsibility. My God, guys, $5 million for 6 games, Shaq Leonard. I mean, maybe if it's prorated, but that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. John, he was due $6 million, not prorated. $6 million if he had been claimed off waivers.
Yeah,
So
he's not. Well, that's why nobody claimed him, because nobody's paying him that.
But that was before your starting linebacker went down with an injury.
No. Well, I don't think he's the same player. Do I think the Eagles could use him? Yeah. But I mean, they're not good. Now, but first of all, Jerry won't do it either. He's not insane. So I mean, it'll be prorated.
So neither one of them are pushing their chips into the middle of the table. Is what you're telling me?
Not at that level. Okay. I mean, if you tell me if you're desperate and say $5 million prorated per 6 games, I'm not going to complain. But 5 actual million? No, not a million.
That's what he was scheduled to make, John.
Yeah, but he's not. That's the whole point. He had a massive contract, and that's the whole point why he cleared waivers, because nobody in their right mind is playing Shaq Leonard what he was due on his contract. Now, if he wants to ring chase and he wants to make $3 million prorated or $4 million, I'd even say that if you're desperate, prorated, yeah, all right, take a shot. And Howie's too smart. Yeah, I mean, he's too smart.
And I think the one that carrot you really need to dangle with him is the playing time aspect. Yeah, you really need to.
Yeah, and he gets a chance to play and win. And if he plays well, who knows? He might get another contract somewhere else down the road. But it's going to be interesting because of the Eagles-Cowboy dynamic, and especially if that game becomes more important. Now, that game probably only becomes more important if San Francisco beats the Eagles. But Dallas has won, what, Jody? 13 straight at home?
13 in a row at home.
13. They're pretty tough to play down there. And if that to me is the most interesting part. If it comes down to Eagles versus Cowboys and that game is meaningful, and all of a sudden Shaq Leonard makes a play with a star on his helmet, and then it could look bad.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying if I would not mind being Shaq Leonard's agent today. I think he's got some leverage. I think he can play this game pretty well and not have to worry about prorated. Oh no, here's the number. This is what we need for the final 6 games of the season. I do believe that. All right, Chris, let me get this in before we wrap you up here. I said this yesterday on WIP. I thought Eagle fans yesterday at the opportune time during the game, and oh, by the way, several presented themselves, either a Jalen Hurts long touchdown pass, hello, Lamade, or a Jalen Hurts push touchdown. Yeah, that happened in the first half. One of the only things that happened in the first half. And or a Jalen Hurts lengthy run. You could have done it at the end of the game as he's leaving the field and everybody's celebrating. That they should have started an MVP chant. That he is the MVP of the league. He was prior to the game. He only increased his status with the way he played 5 touchdowns after the game. You don't usually hear MVP chants at football games. You do at basketball games. You do at baseball games. It doesn't really happen much at football games. Eagle fans, Eagle Nation could be cutting edge by being ahead of the curve and starting an MVP chant for Jalen Hurts. Should they have yesterday? Will they against the 49ers this week?
That section, there's a section from where I was sitting in the press box. They were chanting it. They were yelling the MVP. There was a section from yeah. There was a few people that were yelling it. Yeah, so I think it's the bandwagon starting, and as this team if they continue to win, yeah, it's only going to come out. You mean tell me the guy who the guy who was the runner-up last year, if they say this team finishes 14-3, 13-4, whatever variation of that, and they continue to go on this trajectory, yeah, I mean, who's the one?
Chris, can I ask you, were those same people telling the Eagles to fire the offensive coordinator and bench the quarterback when he had an 0.0 passer rating to Blutarski in the second quarter?
And also, I don't know if you heard this too. We're gonna run the bleeping ball. That's when we heard that. That was prevalent too. That was around the same area too, by the way. When they were saying
run the bleeping ball. By the way, breaking news: our old friend Frank Reich fired in Carolina.
Really?
Yeah. There was a poor David Tepper came out of the locker room yesterday cursing. So there you have it. But
wow.
Not even one and done. Less than one and done.
So let me ask both you guys, because you know Frank Reich covered him when he was here. Do you think that he told the owner bleep off because he picked the quarterback in the draft? That I've had a couple of good NFL insiders tell me, oh, that was David Tepper's pick. That Frank Reich wanted to
Frank
take
likes CJ Stroud for better. But
so after they lost again yesterday, the owner comes into the locker room, said something to Frank, and Frank says, bleep you, I wanted the other quarterback. That cost him his job. Do you believe that happened yesterday?
Frank's too, see, from what I've heard and everything else, Frank might be too nice to do that.
Yeah,
he might be way too nice to be able to do that.
He literally does not curse. So that part, he might have said, Mr. Tepper, please leave my presence. But he's not he doesn't. He legitimately does not curse. Unlike Shane Steichen.
Oh my God! Shane, every other word was. It's like, remember, this is an obscure reference, but anybody who's watched South Park, the first episode, they said the S word over and over again. They had a little counter. They could have had a counter on Shane.
Shane is like an automatic weapon when it comes to F-bombs, and there's like 10 and boom, 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 bang.
I will say this, and I just know this is no. I don't know. I'm just learning with you too. I wonder if Nick brings Frank in as like an advisor, or has him as an advisor for there now. That's his boy.
That's his boy. They get to the playoffs, of course. They bring in defensive guys to advise the offense. Why not would you not bring an offensive guy in to advise the offense?
He's already he's already a de facto advisor. So yeah, I mean, either way, he's going to be calling him. And by the way, now Nick will hate the Carolina Panthers. He was very yeah. That is Frank is his guy, man. So unfortunate for Frank Reich, but it's always that's a bad situation anyway. Probably.
Let him out finish out the season. I'm done.
Yeah.
What
does it do now? Evidently, the special teams coordinator is getting elevated. Chris Tabor, I believe, and Jim Caldwell moves to special advisor working with the offense. So Jim Caldwell will fix all the ills, I guess.
Yeah, good luck with that. And I guarantee you it had to be a personal thing. Because you're right. You just got there. You can fire him after 11 games. Why the hell would you do that? I know you're 1-11, but you're playing a rookie quarterback. Yeah, that had to be a personal thing between the owner and the coach. I can pretty much guarantee you that. All right, I'm going to make a bold prediction. Are you ready for this, Chris Franklin? I need you to agree or disagree with me.
All right.
Walk through Wednesday.
Oh, that's agree. That's agree.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Those guys are banged up.
Oh my God! They just played 90 freaking 2 defensive snaps. Yeah, they're not. Wednesday is the most guaranteed walkthrough and guaranteed.
That's what I'm saying. Right. Walkthrough Wednesday. I'm predicting a walkthrough Wednesday. Not practice.
Oh yeah.
That between you played on a short week. You played the overtime game after playing on a short week. I was speaking to one player. One player is like, I don't know if I want to practice this week just to make sure I'm ready for the game. So
apparently, neither one of you guys picked up on my cynicism. You thought I was actually being serious that they were going to practice.
All right.
They walk to Wednesday every week. They had to walk to Wednesday after a bye week.
No, they didn't. They practiced. They practiced after the bye week. They practiced
on Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving through, it'll be walkthroughs the rest of the way, I think. But yeah, definitely tomorrow. No question about it. Not tomorrow.
With a lot of ice ready. A lot of ice and a lot of trainers standing by ready for it too.
And this week it should be. This week it makes perfect sense. But other weeks maybe not. But
injuries and overtime. Oh yeah, they'll be walking through on Wednesday. See, Franklin, thank you very much for hopping on with us, brother. You know we always appreciate it when you're going outside and weathering the storm. Tell the birds we said hello. Okay.
I will. I'll make sure to do it.
Franklin News, by the way. Make sure you follow Chris on xnj.com and everywhere else. Lehigh Valley Live. So many. I can't get through them all, Chris.
I can't half the time either.
He confirmed the MVP chant for me yesterday at the stadium. Thank you very much for that, Chris Franklin.
No problem. No problem. Anytime. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Next week. Chris Franklin here with us on Birds 365. All right, I had not had it confirmed, but he's the first guy I talked to other than you. Did you not hear this MVP
No,
yet?
I did not hear. I did not.
And you were in the same press box he was.
I'm focused, Jody. I'm focused on the task at hand.
You're saying you may have missed it, is what you're saying.
I can't worry about that. That they're so schizophrenic. It's MVP 1 minute, fire Brian Johnson the next. I can't.
I'm glad to hear at least one person, because Al asked me yesterday, he goes, do you think they'll actually do it down at the stadium? And I said, at least one person will call me tomorrow night on WIP. I'm on WIP tonight after Monday Night Football and say they heard the cheer. Would I be able to? I'll judge on TV. That's the best I could do.
By the way, we're ensconced. Sometimes it's difficult to hear what they're chanting.
Right.
Yeah.
I might have a better chance of hearing it on the crowd mic on TV than you guys do. But that means if Franklin heard it ensconced in the press box, that it had to be loud enough that if he actually picked up on it, I'm going to take that as a confirmation. All right, he's McMullen. I'm McDonald. We got to come back, put a bow on this show here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
All right, clock's running on us here on Birds 365, and I want to have some fun. Hey, if you like John McMullen, hit the like button.
That's a bad way
don't,
to go.
Don't
Joe.
hold it against John because you hate me. So just please hit the like button for Johnny Mac. A lot of people streaming in today, understandably so. 10-1 Eagles, best record in football.
10-1.
10-1.
Second consecutive year, Jody.
They have sometimes frustrating, certainly nerve finger biting ways of doing it, but the main thing is the main thing, and they are 10-1. but I'm going to kind of pimp the stream here. John, you know I love my hypotheticals. I'm going to give you a hypothetical, okay? And the final answer will be something that will annoy the snot out of the stream. But you and I will be okay with it. Let's say the Eagles get beat this week by San Francisco, okay? And then let's say the Cowboys, who are very tough to beat at home, jump up and find a way to beat the Eagles. But the Eagles win the rest of their games. And the Cowboys win the rest of their games. And the 49ers win the rest of their games. The 49ers would have the number 1 seed because the Eagles would have lost to the 49ers and the Cowboys would have lost to the 49ers. They'd all finish with the same exact record, but the 49ers would get the number 1 seed. But who would win the NFC East? The tiebreakers are, Johnny Mac, head-to-head, Eagles-Cowboys 1-1. Divisional record, Eagles-Cowboys 5-1 apiece, because we're assuming the Eagles beat the Giants twice and the Cowboys beat the Commanders again, just for argument's sake. The next one would be common opponents, and they would have the same exact record because the Eagles would have lost to the Jets, who the Cowboys beat, but the Eagles would have beaten the Cardinals, who the Cowboys lost to. Otherwise, all the opponents are exactly the same. They both lost the 49ers. What is the next tiebreaker? Do you know?
I hope it's not point differential.
It is not. It is not.
No, I don't go that deep.
1-loss record within the conference.
Yes, conference games, yeah.
So, because the Eagles lost their other game besides one to the Cowboys and one to the Niners to the Jets, it would be the Arizona Cardinals, the Jonathan Gannon-led Cardinals, having beaten the Cowboys, which would hand the Eagles the division on a platter because they beat the Cowboys earlier. Our boy JG coming up big for the Eagles again.
And that's why we talked about always win the conference game. If you're going to lose a game, you don't want to lose a game if you're the Eagles. But if you're going to lose a game, make sure it's out of conference. And there you have it. Perfect example, Jody.
I
at
don't
Arizona,
think it's come to that, but it could. It's not outrageous at this point.
Yeah,
that's exactly the way it plays out.
By the way, also the stream, and they mentioned it. I didn't recall this. This is a bad job by me, but I gotta apologize to the GOAT, Tom Brady. He said the exact same thing. We were having that discussion when he was playing in 2021. I didn't remember it. I'm surprised because I've been writing about it for years, so I should have picked up on him saying it. But he said the exact same thing. He said, I think it's really, and this is 2021, I think it's a really disservice to the sport because the sport isn't being played at a high level like I believe that it once was. It actually deteriorates because you're not teaching the players the reasons and the fundamentals of what the sport should be. So give him credit. He said the exact same thing, and he was playing.
And he said that to who? What outlet? Or
Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A.
No, that's what he said this week. You said he said it in 2020.
Oh, yeah. He said it at one of his press conferences at Boston.com. Everybody can check it out. September 3rd, 2021.
Early in the 2021 season.
Yeah. So he's not being a hypocrite. Said the exact same thing when he was playing.
I didn't catch it either time, even though he is the GOAT. All right, brother. I say we do this again tomorrow. The Birds will still be 10-1. It'll still be a nervous energy 10-1, but 10-1. They're not gonna lose any games over the next 5 days.
San Francisco coming in. I think there's going to be a storyline or two with that game, Jody McDonald.
The gauntlet will continue. They are undefeated in the gauntlet as we laid it out. We'll see if that can continue. Halfway home, 3-0. Pretty good place to be in if you're the Eagles. All right, check us out tomorrow. We'll be back. John McMullen, Jody McDonald, the Mac and Mac guys on Birds 365 in 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365. the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.